What's up, everybody? Aliesha and I are super excited tonight because we're having a special guest named Harjeet who is going to be joining us from Canada. And she is a cancer thriver, and we're going to learn her whole story. So just can't wait to meet her, for you to meet her. And yeah, so here we go. Let's see if this worked. Harjeet, let's see. Okay, I think she's here. Hello.
Hi. I don't know why my thing is just tilting.
I know. I don't know. Maybe turn your device.
No,
Let's see.
that's weird.
When you're figuring that out, Aliesha's joining us, and then it might change the layout anyway, and then we'll see at that point if that helps. I mean, you probably will go vertical, but it's still. Hi,
No.
Aliesha. I feel like we haven't seen each other.
Okay. No, I idea why it's not happening.
Do you want to
That's
leave
strange.
and come back, maybe?
Yep. Yep. Can we do that?
Sure.
It's weird
All
to
right, we'll
see
just introduce
me.
ourselves in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for Harjeet to rejoin, I think it's a great idea for Aliesha and I to introduce ourselves briefly in case it's anyone's first time joining us. So I'm Carolyn Bento, and I am a lymphoma survivor. It was stage 4 lymphoma, and I was diagnosed in 2015 after I had my daughter. She was 2 months old, had all these crazy symptoms, and they found out it was blood cancer. And I'm now 9 years in remission. So however old my daughter is, that's how many years I am in remission. Aliesha, you want to share your story? It's so hard to put it in a nutshell.
Oh, I know, it's so much. It's so much. I'm Alicia Fisher, and I'm living with adenoid cystic carcinoma. I also went through breast cancer, double mastectomy, been through cancer 3 times, and living with one without a cure is a little different. But yeah, still here, still kicking, and glad to be here.
Yeah, now we're just looking to spread hope, to connect with other patients, survivors. So that's why tonight we have a special guest, like I said at the beginning, Harjeet, and she's in Canada. And we did meet with her briefly just to learn a little bit about her story, but we're looking forward to hearing some more details about that tonight in full, I guess I should say, for everybody. But how was your day in the meantime, Aliesha?
Oh gosh, I have been so crazy busy. It's summer, and yeah, busy, doing planning, lots of plans, and just busy, kind of exhausted, but I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? I keep thinking like it's not really even summer yet, but it's so summer.
Yeah.
Summer
Oh, it's
vibes,
so
right?
so hot. So hot here. Is it really hot by you?
Right now it was like almost 90 today. And then I think we're gonna have a little heat wave next week too. But the rest of the week it was pretty nice. It was like mid 80s, 80. I'm in New York for anybody who couldn't tell or didn't know. How about you, Aliesha? What was the temperature today there?
Yeah,
In Utah?
today it was humid and it was 96.
Oh my God.
And then the other day it was 106 degrees.
Whoa.
I was so hot. I was just like, oh, this is insufferable.
Whoa. And I see in the comments someone saying it's really hot in Florida as well. So
Yeah.
maybe the whole country's getting a heat wave. I don't know. All right,
Yeah.
let's see. So I think Harjeet is returning to us. If I press this. Oh, okay. Oh, there she is. Yay!
Hi.
Welcome.
The technology.
No, oh, this is perfect. So Aliesha and I
Yeah.
just introduced ourselves and just give a brief little intro about our types of cancer, and we spoke about how excited we are to have you join us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. Sorry for the glitch. I'm based out of Canada. I am in Calgary, Alberta. It's becoming to be a little hot since last 2 days.
That's
So
what
I'm
we were
enjoying.
we were saying that about where we
I saw the comments and
Oh,
I
you
saw
saw
it
the
as like, yes, yes. So yeah, it's nice in summers and Calgary is awfully cold So we just can't wait to have summers, right? So I'm excited for this year's summers. Let's see
I'm just kind
what's
of
going on.
curious, like, what's the temperature? What?
It's 25-degree right now.
Mm-hmm.
25. Today it's 25.
I need to do some kind of conversion there. All right. Oh, I think she might have frozen.
No, the connections have been weird lately.
I know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think how hot that would be.
I was watching a reel the other day, and it like the person who made it, it glitched, like it was really glitchy, like pixely glitchy. And I thought, oh, I wonder if that's because of everything that's going on with the sun and everything
I know.
in the
I
solar
don't
cycle.
know.
I was
Harjeet's
like,
writing in the comments. No, we can't hear you. Maybe you could try rejoining. I think that might be a good idea. I don't know if I have any control over. Well, I could. Wait, if I could remove the request. Okay. I think she's back. But yeah, I guess we're all hot.
oh, yeah. I like what they said. Too hot.
I don't know what's happening.
It's okay. It happens, right?
Yeah, the first few lines were kind of just we winged it, and yeah, I kind of was glitching in and out.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hot. It's 25 degrees. But it's on weekend. It's raining again. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get right into it, Harjeet. So we'd love to hear. I think everybody would like to hear your story. Maybe from the very beginning, like what symptoms were you having, and then how'd you find out it was cancer, and so on and so forth.
So yes, I'll quickly brief about myself. Like how did I ended up in Canada first? So I actually moved to Canada in 2018 along with my husband. And as every immigrant has, dreams of high hope, living in a new country, having a career, having a family. So it was going smooth until 2019 May. And I started having fevers, and it started with high fevers, 39 to 40 degrees Celsius. And we went to see a family doctor. So things are a little different in Canada and US. So we went to see a family doctor, and she mentioned that it looks like it's viral or a flu. Just take Tylenol and take rest, and just stay home and hydrated. So this episode of fever went for a week, and I was home for a week with high fevers, and they never stopped. I used to get fever every 2 hours, and it was just me and my husband, and we were really worried, like, why it's not going. So we went back to see our family doctor again, and we asked her, like, if she could get some blood work done, or do some kind of testing, so see if there is something else. She did the blood work as usual routine, and it came fine. There was no signs of anything, and it looked like that it was just fevers. It might be through a viral or a flu. And we went back home, same story, have Tylenol, take rest. And it was 2 weeks, and I blacked out in washroom, and my husband was not at home at that time. And when he came back, he saw some bruises on my face, and he was worried about it. So he took me to emergency that night, and we went to emergency room. I had to wait there for 6 hours just to get in. And I went in, and they did some blood work, and I still remember the words they said, that you shouldn't be here, you just have fevers, you don't have any other symptoms, so just go home, take rest, it might be a viral or a flu which will go. And we went back home. It was really frustrating for both of us to navigate through the health system, because we were pretty new in this country, and we didn't know how to trust the process, and whom to reach out. And then we advocated to our family doctor that there is something not right. Can we do something about it? Can we do scans or tests or different things to see what's going on? And she was really sweet, and she actually recommended us to, like, refer to infectious disease specialist at University of Alberta Hospital in Edmonton. I initially was in Edmonton, Alberta, and we went to see him, and the same story repeated. It looks like you have viral or a flu, just take Tylenol. I just want you to mark down your fevers. You won't believe, I used to actually write down my fever every time I used to get it. It
Yeah,
was like every 2 hours I used to get high fever
that's
and I
good
used to
though.
mark down. Yeah, like he wanted a report of knowing like, what time I'm getting fevers. And along with fevers, I started having chills
Hmm.
and it was so overwhelming for me and my husband to manage everything. He was working, I was at home, and it was too much going on. And almost June came in, and nothing. No one actually did anything about it. Everyone was like, it's just viral or a flu. We really advocated hard, and then finally we asked them to do a CT scan, a PET CT. And
Hmm.
in Canada, things are different. It's a public health system, so you have to get into the system to get the test done. And they didn't agree to it first. They said that nothing looks serious to us, so we can't do a CT scan. And my husband was really pissed off, and he actually said that, I can pay for the CT scan if you want, but we need to get the answers. So they didn't agree to it. And next day, we just told them that, fine, we are taking Harjeet back home to India. I think you guys can't help us, and you don't have any facilities to do anything about her fevers. And after 1 or 2 days, the assistant of the doctor called us, and she said, we want you to come to the hospital. We'll do the CT scan, and then let's see how it goes. So that was the first step to the advocacy, to know what exactly it is. And we went in, they did the CT scan, and after that, after a few days, we got a call that there is some unusual activity showing on CT scan. So we want her to get admitted to the hospital so we can do extensive tests and scans and, MRIs to see what's going on. So I was admitted to the hospital from June 2019 until August 2019.
Hmm.
3 months of fevers, not knowing what is this, had had biopsies, surgeries, laparoscopy, colonoscopy, endless scans, endless MRIs, but we had got no answers. My body started swelling up. I
Hmm.
could not eat. I was so tired. My fever shoot up to 42, 43. I was so weak and I used to get chills every hour. So
Hmm.
it was too much for us to manage. And that time we reached out to my mom back home in India, and she flew from India to help us because it was too much for my husband to do work, to look for me, right?
Right.
And my brother was in BC, British Columbia, Vancouver side, so he moved to Edmonton to take care of us. And I had the whole family, like my mom, my brother, my husband. And but no answers to my fever. And finally, we thought of going back to India. And at last, the doctors came in and they said that we want to do one last biopsy, which is a skin punch biopsy, which not a lot of people do to get the diagnosis. And I said, okay, fine, this is the last thing. And then I just want to go home. I want to go home back to India.
Hmm.
And they did the biopsy, and my husband was preparing for discharge papers, and he went to see my family doctor how we can take Harjeet back home because it's 24 hours flight. She get high fever,
Oh
she
wow.
getting chills, she's so fatigued and tired. We don't know how we can take her
Yeah,
back
would it
home
be a
in the
risk?
flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, on 27th of August 2019, we were just getting our papers ready and stuff. The doctors rushed into the room, and she said that we don't want you to go home. We got the prognosis report, and it says it's subcutaneous panniculitis T cell lymphoma.
Hmm.
Honestly, I've never heard about these terms.
Hmm.
So I said, what is it? I don't know. So she's like, it's stage 4 rare type of blood cancer,
Hmm.
and you don't have much time.
Hmm.
We want you to stay back so we can start the treatment ASAP. And honestly, listening to those words that you have stage 4 cancer,
Hmm.
I was completely numb, and I could not take in a single word at that time. And I could see my mom standing next to me because my husband was not there. And my mom had tears in her eyes listening to those words that you have cancer. And seeing her, I didn't want it to melt down because I felt that if I go down, she will
Yep.
go down with me. And
Yep.
they said that we would request you to stay back because you don't have much time left. And I wanted to talk to my husband. So I called him, and I didn't want to break the news on phone that it's stage 4
Right.
cancer. I just told him that we got the diagnosis and you need to come ASAP. And he was like, what is the diagnosis? I was like, it's cancer, and they want us to get the treatment. started ASAP. He came back. It was 4 o'clock afternoon, and as we were not getting any answers, we were not sure if this is right or not because it was 3 months of not knowing what's happening, and all of a sudden when I'm trying to go back to India and getting the answers, now they have come up with this thing that
Right.
it's cancer. So it was not making any sense at that time. I really wanted to have a second opinion. So we had our family doctors back home in India who we were in touch during my pre-diagnosis. So we wanted to show them the prognosis report, and we asked the doctors over here that is it okay to wait for 5-6 hours because it's a time gap in India and Canada. They said that's fine, but we would request you to either start the treatment right in the night or tomorrow morning. That's the maximum we have. So my husband reached out to my family doctors back home and they read the report. They said everything is exactly the same they have said. It's a rare type of blood cancer and you need to start the treatment. You don't have much time left. If you come to India, we will be doing all the testing again and we might lose time. So they were like, you are at the right place at the right time. Just go ahead with the treatment. And no choice is given. We were told that we will start the chemo next day. So 28th of August, 2019, I had a PICC line insertion and it was really tough. I could not actually navigate anything that time. I could not process anything. I was so numb that time that I didn't had any questions. I just felt that why me? Why me at the age of 32? What I've done wrong in my life that I got this? All those questions were in my mind, but I could not express anything. The doctors, the oncologist came and they said that we need to start the treatment and it's called Red Devil because it's
Yeah.
aggressive chemo. So we are trying our best and it's a rare cancer. It's complicated with HLH. There are only 100 or 150 cases reported globally, and you are my first patient. So we will try our best to treat you and see how it goes. And yeah, so I was in hospital till then. So I was in hospital until my two chemos, and I still used to get fevers. Fevers were never stopping.
Wow.
I started having chills. I started having night sweats. My t-shirts used to be like drenched, and my bed used to drench, and it was weird because my doctor said that these are the symptoms you get prior to diagnosis,
Right.
and your body didn't show us any symptom. It was just fevers. That's why it was very difficult for us to diagnose it in the beginning. And it was complicated with HLH, which is again an immune disease. So it was not actually making any sense that it could be cancer. And it didn't show anything on bone marrow biopsy or any other surgeries. They did laparoscopy, they couldn't find anything. So the chemo treatment started. I was in hospital until two chemos and belonging to a Sikh community, if not a lot of people know, the people who wear turban and have long hair. So it was really challenging for me to lose my hair. I started losing my hair during my second to third chemo, and I still had my hair. I didn't want it to, shave my head or do anything, because my family is so religious and things like that. I could see in their eyes that they can't see me with the shaved head. But my doctors suggested my husband because I used to have a lot of pain on my head. Like I used to have like all the tangling and stuff. So the doctor suggested my husband that she should shave her head. She can't keep her hair. I had long hair. And I remember that day we came home. Finally, I was discharged in September 2019. I went home and I sat and my husband shaved my head. And my dad and mom, they went inside and my husband shaved his head too to
Oh.
support me. And I used to cover my head all the time because whenever we used to talk to our extended family, like grandparents or anyone, my family used to tell me, like, just cover your head and talk. Till that time, I could not understand a lot of these things because I was still quiet and still, dealing with that trauma of, diagnosed with cancer. I had amazing support system. My dad flew from India. My mom was here. And my husband took that effort to talk to my friends and family because I was quiet. I was in that nutshell where I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just went in that zone where I just wanted to be with myself or my family. That's it, because I felt that it's the end of the road and I might not be able to survive this. So the chemo was hard. I had fatigueness, tiredness, nausea,
Mhm.
and I was thrown into early menopause, which was never told to me at the age of 32. I just lost my fertility at the age of 32, and it was very hard to process everything at that time.
Yeah.
And after three chemos, the doctors rushed, the oncologist did my PET scan, and he said that, Harjeet, I still remember his words saying, Harjeet, what's your appetite? And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, what do you want to do? As, and I just said, I want to live. I just want to get over with this.
Yeah.
And he said, we have discussed this thing in our team and we have come up with two things. I just have two options for you. One is either we can go on giving you chemotherapy, the aggressive treatment, and see how your body reacts to it because your cancer cells are really aggressive. So they are working on some of the chemo treatments and some of them are not. They're fighting against the chemo treatment
Yeah.
because of the HLH complication.
Mm.
He's like, either we can do that, or secondly, we can give you a stem cell transplant, which
Right.
could give you a little life longer. I don't have any, experience, or don't have any patient who has gone through this, but I can tell you that you might get a little life longer after getting a stem cell transplant. Honestly, listening to those words, I felt like it's all over. Like we are just trying our best to to treat me, to fix me. The medical team, the health team, and my family is just there to support me and having that hope that, this will pass too. And I still remember I went back home and I felt like it's all over. My life is ending at the age of 32. I might be losing this battle and I don't have anything left to say. And I remember I was in the room and I was crying. I didn't want to express anything to anyone. And I just thought that it's all ended and we will just try our best to treat me, but I don't think so. I didn't see any light at
Mhm.
the other side. And in our family, because we belong to a South Asian community, it's the decisions are made by everyone, it's just not you. So I could hear my family talking outside and saying that we have to do a stem cell transplant, we need to do this will be better for her. And they just came to the room and they said, we are going for a stem cell transplant. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever you feel, it's okay. Because I already lost that hope, right? And I
Yeah.
was just there for my family, to be there for them, right? And so the oncologist did some test on my brother, and he was my 100% match. He was my stem cell donor. That
Wow.
was that was amazing because that's a rare thing to have, and he was 100%
Wow.
match. And
That's
yeah, so he
amazing.
he agreed to, gave me his stem cell, and the process started. And December 2019 to Jan 2020, I started having a blurry vision on my right eye, and we went to emergency because it was Christmas time. No doctors were available. I told my husband that, there is something blurry in my eye and I feel like it's not
Right.
right. We went to emergency room and he said that uh, we need to do some test on the eye because we feel that the lymphoma has gone to the eye. And listening to that word, that now I have lymphoma in my eye, I was not prepared for all that. And
Right.
then I felt that I can't do this. I actually lost the hope of, getting myself for another treatment. I was already preparing my mind to get a stem cell transplant. And now listening to those words that you have lymphoma in your eye actually shattered me a lot. And he said that we need to do a biopsy of your eye and let's see how we can treat that.
How do they do that?
We
Sorry to interrupt. I
it's
never heard of.
it's the same process. They
Mhm.
inserted injection in the eye to take
Oh,
out the
wow.
mass. Yes, yes. And they did that, and we had to wait for 5 days. And the report came, and it wasn't cancer, but it was CMV retinitis, which is a virus which anyone can get. But because I had chemotherapy, my immune system was low. I was on medications like dexamethasone and all that,
Mm-hmm.
which actually led to the vision loss. So I lost my vision of a right eye due to the treatment. And they said that because this virus is still active on my eye, we need to treat this virus so that it doesn't go to your left eye. And during that time, I was having chemo. I was having more aggressive chemo to get me to a partial remission for stem cell transplant. So Jan and Feb was the worst time for me, 2020, because I had to get treatment for my eye. There was 1 week I used to get chemo, the other week I used to get treatment for my vision, and they used to insert injection in my eye every week to treat the virus. So that was painful. Like the whole 2 months were really painful for me, and I was just losing hope. I lost completely because I was going through so many challenges mentally, physically, financially, socially. I felt like I don't know what I'm doing and where my life is going. Like, going through so many things at that age and that time. I had a huge support group. My family was there, my close friends were there. But one thing which was missing was a communication about cancer, a talk about cancer. We never talked about my experience, my
Mhm.
pain, or my family, what they were going through.
Mhm.
And then we were preparing for stem cell transplant, which was in March 2020, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And I had to move to a different city to get my stem cell transplant. I still remember at the room when we were sitting, the doctors were discussing my plan, how to get the stem cell transplant, what would be the process. Not a lot of people know what exactly a stem cell transplant is. So basically, because I had a complicated case, so their plan was to kill my immune system. So the plan was to give me 7 days of nonstop chemo every day, along with 3 radiation, so that my immune system could be completely killed
Mhm.
and my brother's stem cell should be given to me. So, and they said that this process can actually lead to 15 to 20% of death, and we have to prepare for the worst. And it was all before COVID when they discussed everything. And then we suddenly got a call that Harjeet needs to get herself treated by herself. Like basically, she needs to get admitted to the hospital by herself. No family members allowed, no
Mhm.
visitors allowed. The process can take up to 30 to 40 days, and you can't see her, but we'll try our best to connect you with her, or you can connect to the nurses or doctors to know what's going on and how is she. And at that moment, when I was told that, I had to do this all by myself, I was not ready. I thought that all this time when I had chemo, I had my family, I had my husband, I had my mom, my dad, everybody was with me during my chemo days.
Right.
And how will I do it myself? I was not ready for it. I still remember I told my husband, I can't do that. He said to me, you have come so far, and this is just a small step again. You will do it. And like my whole family had, like, the faith on me that I will do that. But I had this thing in my mind that I'm not coming back. This would be my last, thing. And I still remember it was 6th of April 2020 when they dropped me to the hospital. So it's like 3 hours drive from my place. So they dropped me to the hospital and I hugged everyone. And I felt like this is the last hug I am giving them, and I might not go back from here. It was too difficult to me. Like 7th April, they started the treatment. I was in hospital. First 1 or 2 days were okay, but slowly, when chemo started hitting me every day, I went weak every day. I was in so much of pain. I lost 20 kilos of weight. I was completely, bedridden. I could not walk. I could not eat. I had mucositis on my mouth, and I had feeding tube. I had oxygen pipe. Every day I was just praying to see the next day. And all those 35 days were really challenging for me. I still get goosebumps when I think about it, and I feel like I can't go back to that place. It was such a darkest moment of my
Mhm.
life where I was fighting for my life every day. And there was time when I was so much on painkiller. I was on painkiller pumps. I was actually on opioids. Imagine, you are on painkiller pumps, you're not in your senses. I didn't knew it's day or night. And there was time when I never used to pick up my call, or my husband used to do a FaceTime so he could see me at least, or I could see them. And I never used to pick up a call. Like there was time I was sleeping all day, or I was in pain, I was screaming.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I managed to came out of it, honestly. But those 35 days were really challenging for me. And that thing of just going back to my family and hugging them was really which meant to me. And yeah, and here I am. It's been 4 years now, and the journey has been really challenging. After stem cell, 100 days are more challenging for you because you can get graft versus host disease,
Mhm.
because I was getting my brother stem cells. So sometimes your body can reject outside cells. And but in medical term, I remember it was 14th of April 2020 when I got the new cells, and nurses wished me in the room that happy rebirth day, it's your second life. And I still, I'm grateful that, I got to live this life. Like I got this second chance in life, because not everyone gets that, going through stage 4 and going through a stem cell transplant. I've seen people losing this. And I think I was blessed and grateful to have this second chance in life. And I really had a biggest support system, during my whole journey. So, and during that time, I started writing my blog because I thought that I'm not going back, and I wanted to express my feelings. I wanted to share the gratitude. I wanted to express my family that, how grateful I was for them, and, and how blessed I am, and what was missing in our, that period. Like we never talked about my experience. So I wanted to express everything. And that's how my journey of starting my blog, writing my journey started. And I then after 1.5 year, I was just looking for support groups and communities
Mhm.
where I could talk to patients, where I could see if there are other young patients out there who are going through the same thing. Because I was just 32 and my whole life flipped, and I didn't know how to navigate my life after cancer. And I found a couple of support groups. I started navigating and looking for support groups and communities out there: Young Adult Cancer Canada, Canadian Cancer Society, Elephant Tea and Magazine. There are endless number of support groups. It's just you need to find it for yourself.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do it for myself. I just wanted that mental peace, because I was going through so much of pain. I was just going through so many things that time, that I really wanted to be there with those people who have gone through the same challenges.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's been a hell ride, like honestly. I mean, it's been 4 years. I just completed my 4 years in April, and I'm still NED. There's no evidence of
Great.
disease. But being a rare cancer, I go for my blood work every 3 months, and I'm seeing 8 specialists at the moment because of my vision loss, and because of my menopause, and because it was lymphoma on my fatty tissue layer of the skin. So I've been seeing dermatologist, and yeah, so things have changed, and I do have long-term side effects like hearing loss. I lost my 35% of hearing due to my aggressive chemo and stem cell treatment.
Mm.
And so it's not easy, like, but I have accepted this, that this is my new normal, and, and I'm embracing my new normal. So there were a lot of challenges on my way, but I have grown every step. So
Well, we're so happy to have you here and that you are sharing. I think there's so many topics my mind's going like, that I could address, and I would love to ask you some questions, but I just think the biggest one is what you said about talking about it. It's so important. I think some people are craving that. They don't know where to go. I hope they can find people like us who are willing to share, because that's hard too. It's so hard to talk about
yeah,
it, but it also feels so good to talk and to
yeah,
hear, oh, that person
and
went
that
through this
person,
also. And I post all the time all these different things about feeling guilty, having all these emotions about it.
yeah,
Maybe I also had stage 4 blood cancer, but I didn't have a stem cell transplant, and I might feel, oh, it wasn't as bad. I've talked about this before, but everybody's case is different,
yeah.
and we all
And
suffered in different
everybody is
ways.
different. Everybody is different.
Right.
Every chemotherapy and every treatment is different on everybody, right? And
But
I
if
had stem cell because I had HLH too, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing to save HLH patient is to have a stem cell transplant. Otherwise, HLH patient can't survive more than 5 years. So the only thing was to have a stem cell transplant.
Right. And that was like, I was like so grateful I didn't have to have them. But these crazy thoughts, you get it sometimes. You think, or I think I posted something recently about like, you know, surviving, but then like you said, I've known so many who didn't, and it's so
Yeah.
complex where you feel all this stuff that you could feel so happy, but then get so down still about different parts of it. And I think it's good to talk about that so that people don't feel a stigma, you know.
I think we grieve. There's grief involved in that, you know. Like I deal with hearing loss as well, in my right ear, and I am almost half deaf, pretty much. Like I have about 30% of my hearing in my right ear, so there's a very huge thing to adjust to.
Yeah.
Like I could,
And honestly, like it's okay to grieve, right? It's okay. It's okay. Like sometimes we just don't want to address that thing, but it's okay, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
especially when we talk about the stigma, because I belong to a South Asian community, there's not a lot of support groups out there. And when I joined endless support groups, I couldn't find a person with my color or my ethnicity. And I was like, that can't be true. It's just not me, right? There might be a lot of people out there, but then through my advocacy journey, through, you know, sharing my stories and connecting with organizations, I realized that, you know, there's a lot of taboo and stigma in our South Asian community where people don't want to talk about cancer. They don't want to address the name. I remember my first of the interviews with one of the radios. I was talking about my journey, and the callers, they called and they said they didn't even take the name. They said my wife has this problem. So imagine when, you know, when you address it as a problem, how that person would feel, right?
Right.
So
I can't imagine to have to go through that on top of everything else, you know. And I'm
good
seeing a question.
question someone asked.
Yeah, it's sort of related to the, as women, do we feel that hospitals were providing emotional, even mental health resources? I mean, I guess I can go first. And I was treated in New Jersey in Hackensack, and I don't feel like there was anything specifically as like a woman that I received as far as mental health help or support, I should say. But every time I had an appointment, they would say, "How are you feeling?" And I needed to fill out physically and mentally on a scale of 1 to 10. And I was told by one of the nurses, like, if you put a certain number, you know, she's like, how are you really? So I might have felt like frustrated that day or upset, but I couldn't say I was depressed. I wasn't at that level. So like she said, just know, like, if you're putting anything below 5, they're going to send a social worker and take this seriously. And like, so I was like, okay, I do feel like it's something I can handle with the support of my family and friends. But if I ever get to the point where I need professional help, I understood the scale a little bit better. But I was provided with that. What about you?
So for me in Canada, because things are totally different than New Jersey, so and plus I was an immigrant in this country, so it was more challenging for me. And I remember in my initial days, I asked this question to one of the nurses because I couldn't see a lot of young patients around me. And I asked her, is just me like having my treatment, chemo treatment, and getting cancer, or there are other young patients too? And that time she mentioned that no, we do get young patients. It's just that right now you're here, but there are support groups out there. There is social workers. So that time she addressed to social worker. And I remember before my stem cell, that period of time, when my oncologist asked me, how are you doing? I was like, I'm not good. I don't know what's happening, and I really don't know how to process everything. Because at that time, I was not able to talk to my family about my experience, my pain,
All
right?
right.
I had the huge support group, but we never talked about, you know, what's going to happen next. What if the treatment is not working? What kind of pain or thinking I'm getting after the treatment. So because of that, I wanted that help, and I asked my oncologist about that help, and then they connected me to a social worker, and through that, I was connected to a psychosocial and then to a psychologist. So I have been into therapy for last 3.5 years, and it has really helped me.
That's so
It
good
has
to
really
hear.
helped me, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because as I said, that there's a stigma and taboo in our community where we don't talk, right? So
Yeah.
that talking to that therapist really helped me.
Yeah.
And I think the person in the chat is still saying, like, maybe some people are seeing that they use the words like out there.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that was going to say, like, if anybody here actually went through the process, and Aliesha, if you'd like to speak on about your experience next, but it's good to hear that it was so helpful for you, and I know it's all confidential too. So
Yeah, and for me, like I actually had to ask for help. I recognized that I needed to talk to somebody. But this was, in 2002. So it was a long time ago when I went through my initial cancer, and back then things were so different. They didn't, unless you asked for help and you said you were struggling, like they didn't even ask about it, Or now I've noticed, when I go in, it's different. Like I really am glad it's different too, because I did end up having to ask for help. Like, I hit a point where it was just like I just couldn't handle it, and mentally, and like you, I I was like, what did I do that was so bad?
Yeah.
Like that was my biggest question,
And I feel
and
it's
it's
okay to ask for help, right? It's okay to ask for help. Not everybody understands that, but it's okay. There's
yeah,
nothing wrong in asking for help or going to a therapist.
right.
I know
yeah,
people might not understand, like someone mentioned that it happens in traditional families. Yes, it does. Like that's the background I come from. Uh, you know, Anything to address with any kind of mental illness or any health condition, we don't talk. We don't talk about it at all.
Yeah, I agree. They're saying like we need to redefine it, and I think that's happening. Also, I think as time goes on, it gets a little better in society as a whole.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something else. I mean, I wanted to bring up another topic. Something else that resonated with me was what you're talking about with the diagnosis. So I was also 32, also blood cancer. The beginnings of our stories are very similar. I had fevers, but I did have those other symptoms of the wet t-shirt. I'd sweat so bad in the night. I'd have to go change my shirt. But I was also told 3 times I was given antibiotics, and I was just hoping to get better. I had just had a baby. I was told, oh, it's upper respiratory infection. You'll be fine. Just take these antibiotics. And then even after I said I just finished antibiotics because I went to somebody else, I was given them again. And I hear this so often on my page and just from talking to people that people are going to the doctor with these symptoms. And even like the second or third time, the doctors aren't doing anything different, any different tests. And I just think it's interesting that it was happening to you in Canada, right? And I'm
Yeah.
in America, and like
I had different perspective. Like US is different than Canada, right? It's the
yeah.
totally different public health. Like it's totally the different health system.
Mhm.
but then the same thing happened to us, which I
Yeah.
find to be so devastating, really, that we're going, like, please help us. And like,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
getting better. Why are we
Yeah.
getting the same? Why aren't you taking my blood or giving me a scan? I basically had to also ask, is there
Advocate.
something else you could do? I know
Yes.
myself.
Yeah.
I feel weird. Like this is, but the
Yes.
next process was faster for me. When you're talking about, let's talk about like 3 months. I went to the hospital with my high fever, and then that day they gave me an X-ray, and the next day CT scan. It was quick, but I also went right into the hospital. Then I think with blood cancer, once it's stage 4, it's like you have to get
Yeah.
that treatment right away.
Yeah. I think that's the different health system we have, right? Like in Canada, it's totally different. If
Yeah,
people are listening, people are from Canada, they know how the public health system works, right? Until and unless you are on that stage where you're dying, no one will treat you.
wow,
You have to advocate for your health. Like we advocated pre-diagnosis. We were like after them to get this or that
yeah,
treated, right? Because and plus I feel like it was also a situation because I was young, right? So no one actually thinks that you can get cancer or something like that. So I feel that's
right,
the one thing which we really need to address is when it comes to your health, and if you feel something is not right, you need to get your checkup done, right? And you need to advocate for your own health. So
Yeah.
that was the one thing which my husband did for me because I was not in a condition to do a lot of things, but he tried his best to do that, work for me. And but yeah, I regret that it took them 3 months to diagnose
yeah,
my cancer, and it went up to stage 4, and then I had to go through lifelong side effects. So yes, and that's why I have been advocating about, my
Same,
journey
yeah.
and talking about whether it's blood cancer, breast cancer, or any cancer, right? And it's just that it needs to be diagnosed
Mhm.
at the earliest, like the screening, and the prevention
Yes.
should be done. Early detection, prevention is the key thing. And being young adult, you don't get that.
hmm
Yeah.
It's so true. And I
I
think,
learned a very interesting term that I'd love to share with
yeah.
everyone is when a doctor is disregarding what you're telling them or they're not really taking you seriously, ask them what is their differential diagnosis. That word differential puts them, that's like puts them on the spot and they can't not answer the
Mm.
question.
Right.
And they can't blow you off either anymore because now you just said, what do you think it might be if it's something different?
hmm
You know, if it's something different, what do you think it could be? And so they're forced to answer your question,
hmm
and if they can't, that's where they're going to go, most likely, hopefully, let me get you to a doctor who can answer
Right.
that question.
Yeah.
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 Actually, I had when I got to the point where they knew it was lymphoma, but then, or at least some kind of blood cancer. I was grateful that at first I was like, I can't believe this, that the doctor here in Staten Island was like, oh, I'm not a specialist. He said, you need to find
Oh,
a specialist. He said the same thing that you said, like, you're running out of time. It's everywhere. So like, it really scared me, but I guess it wasn't an exaggeration. And I was happy that he was honest. And I did find that specialist because, instead of just kind of blow me off or trying to figure it out, he said, I can't,
yeah.
I'm not knowledgeable about this specific type. The next step, find another oncologist. So
Yeah.
I think that does happen. It's
Yeah,
good.
it does happen to a lot of people because you don't have so many doctors, and there are so many subtypes of cancer, right?
Right.
Like when I was diagnosed, he said that I am his first patient,
I
and
can't
he sees
believe.
like 400 people.
Yeah.
And still, like, it has been this thing has been, haunting me, because I have been like looking for someone with subcutaneous panniculitis T-cell. I can actually
hmm
know what that person is doing right now. How is his life going? Or, how are they coping with the treatment? But it's been scary because I've never been able to find it. I have touched base with Lymphoma Leukemia Society of Canada. I've touched with Lymphoma Canada and different organizations, but till now I haven't found anyone in Canada and US. And until last year, someone reached out to me from different part of the world, and the person was going through a similar type of diagnosis, and Googling it, and they found me
Huh.
with the similar type of diagnosis. And she read my blog, and she reached out to me on my email and Instagram, and she had a similar diagnosis, similar symptoms, everything is same. Like, it was like she's going through the same thing which I went 4 years down the line.
Hmm.
So yeah, and that's the only person I have right now who's going through, but at least she gets that hope from me, because
Yeah.
it's been 4 years now, and I'm okay, I'm doing okay, so I feel like, okay, at least I'm able to help that
Yeah.
person out there by giving that hope to the person that,
Did you
she'll
feel
be
like
fine.
in some ways it helps you heal to
Yeah,
be helping
yeah,
that person?
yeah. So that's what I have been trying to do. So as you've seen, like, I've been collaborating and talking about my story a lot. And especially I want to be the voice for South Asian community more, because
Yeah.
I feel there's no much topic, no much, and there's no such group of South Asian people who are going through cancer. So I came across with a friend where I was talking about the stigma and taboo among South Asian cancer community, where I said that it need all of us to bring this change. I can't do it myself. So we actually started this page called Chai and Hope for
Mhm.
South Asian cancer community. It's like for South Asians, who are going through cancer and who want that support, who want that. People go through this all alone, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to go through this journey all alone. So we are just creating that safe space for South Asian people who can come and talk about their experience, right?
Yeah.
And they should feel that they are not alone in this journey.
That's
I
awesome.
could see Alicia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
it's,
don't know if you have something in US. I haven't seen any South Asian cancer group or support group anywhere, not in Canada at least. So
Yeah.
that's why we started this page, and we're still growing. It's a baby. We just started last week, and we are looking for South Asian cancer stories. So we are looking for people who
yeah.
want to share their stories, and because it's a Cancer Survivor Month, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for mentioning that. I was
yeah,
meaning to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did this
yeah,
now, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so hard to find. I think that's why so many like individual groups of cancer support pop up so much here. Um, sorry, that was off. Knocking away. Um, like I think that's one of the things we definitely need is, I think that's why so many smaller groups of like cancer support pop up in the US. Just there's just not really any. There's some big ones, but they're different, probably just different, you know, or they get caught in a scandal or
yeah,
something, and like some of us don't like the whole everything pink when it comes to
yeah.
cancer.
And
You
and
know.
it brings the community, like this is the community which brings us all together, right? That's the
Yeah,
cancer community. That's the best part of our cancer group or community, which brings us all together
yeah,
from
Yeah.
different ethnicities, from different culture, from different
Exactly.
background. Yeah,
I think people get discouraged too because I know I did when like Susan Komen for the Cure got in trouble, and I was just like,
Oh, yeah. I
yeah,
heard about that. Yes.
I remember going, I gave to that. Like I was
yeah,
just so disappointed because I
yeah,
really was like, oh yes, we need this.
Yeah. And there's a
We
lot
need
of
to.
skepticism with the charities, which, like you're saying, it's disappointing though because so many do so much good.
yeah,
And I volunteer for LLS, and I always say, like some of my friends will say, well, where does the money really go? But they have
yeah,
statistics that tell you can, I forgot the name of the website,
Yeah.
but beyond that, in the community, I know for us, LLS has been like so supportive, and we've had dinners where I got to meet people, and this is specifically for blood cancer, but I think it's so cool. I'm like, wow, right where I live, I can connect with people that had similar types of
yeah.
cancer at least. Um, so it's not just about like the money and the research, it's also about connecting or financial
Connecting.
support to individuals. There's so much that goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
And
community,
so
right?
many people
Because
don't know, you
yeah,
know.
and I know US does a lot of this community support group events and connections and
Yeah.
relationship building with cancer patients because I've seen that. And Canada is still growing with all these things. It's really slow because when I look for these, community events or support events, there are not many. They are there in Toronto or Vancouver, but not in the Alberta side of it. But I feel we need to grow more, with these things where we can meet more cancer patients, we can connect with more people,
What are the
towards the
cancer
community.
rates like in Canada? Do you know the research, like the stats?
Uh,
I'm wondering if it's
Not,
a,
uh, I think Canadian Cancer Society has a better stats. I don't want to go with the wrong number, but the Canadian Cancer Society is a huge organization in Canada, and they do all the research and stats
Mhm.
with the numbers. So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to go and check,
Yeah.
that's the
Now
best
I'm kind of like
best
curious. I'm
website.
wondering like,
Yeah, but I don't want to give the wrong numbers or wrong information, but I know that they do this kind of stats and they do put the reports out and they are very active. And I've
yeah.
been involved with them as a patient advocate too. So I have lobbied at Parliament here for out-of-pocket costs for cancer patients too,
Mm.
because everybody thinks that cancer has free public healthcare system, but nothing is free. The medications of cancer treatments are not free at all. So
Right.
you have to pay out of pocket for your medications, and most of the people, they don't know if they should get the medical insurance or not. And I feel like that's also one thing which people should be aware about, that how important it is to have a medical insurance in
Mm-hmm.
this country, right? So so there are a lot of things. I've been involved with Canadian Cancer Society, doing this advocacy work for long. And the new cancer center is coming up in Calgary, so I'm a patient family advisor council member too.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
just being the part of the new cancer center and helping them as a patient family advisor. So,
Yeah, it's very different. It's very different in the US and
yeah.
complicated. It seems like doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's just
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get up and switch my battery was leaving.
Yeah, it's really complicated. I met the VP of American Cancer Society in one of the events in Canada this
Mm-hmm.
year, and we were talking about this thing, how it's different, right? In Canada
Yeah.
and US, the treatment and everything is almost similar, right? The treatment plan is same, but still it's so different when it comes to the treatment and,
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm curious. For your before you had the stem cell transplant, your initial treatment, were you an inpatient or outpatient?
So as I mentioned that I was in hospital from June until August.
Mm-hmm.
So I was diagnosed in
And
August, so
you stayed there. Okay.
I had to stay in hospital for 2 more months, like until September. So two chemos were as an inpatient, and then I was outpatient because I was still getting fevers.
Oh, right.
And there was
Right.
time when my chemos were like postponing because I had high fever, so they can't do my chemos and stuff. So then after third chemo, I was at home.
Yeah, because certain medication, certain chemo drugs, I should say, like the Red Devil, I had that as part of
Yeah,
my
I am.
regimen. I think they need to monitor you. I was
Yeah.
an inpatient, so it'd be 5 days at a time, and then I get to go home for a few weeks, and then I go back.
Mhm.
But I feel like just in general, people don't realize this.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll get, oh, what? I know somebody who worked when they had chemo, and it's like, well, there's different types, and
Yeah.
some you can work
You
sometimes. Sometimes you might
can't
not even
work.
realize someone had cancer. It depends on their
Yeah.
cancer and their treatment.
Mm.
But for me, it was super aggressive, and it was
Yeah.
just sucked the life out of me.
The
And no immune system,
the
So
Red Devil was so painful.
right,
I remember when it used to get you. I don't know if you remember when they used to insert it. It used to pain on your veins,
yeah.
and then when it goes
They did
inside,
that.
it was
It
so
was like a
pain.
slow push. They called
It
it.
was
They put
slow
it,
push, and
and they said we
it
don't know what
was
this is going to do to your body.
yeah,
The first time, I was like,
yeah,
I was so afraid. That's
yeah,
another thing. Like,
yeah,
of the reaction, am I going to have an
yeah.
allergic reaction? They say
Yes.
something up to your heart. Like you have to have heart tests after. Before and after, did you do that? Like, did they check? I had like a scan of my heart before to make sure that they knew how it was before in case there was damage. Luckily there wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
Plus, I think
much,
it's
so many
body is
parts.
different. Every body is different.
Right.
Every chemo treatment on every body will react different, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can't compare. If you
Right.
and me had blood cancer, we had the similar
Right.
regimen, but it might have reacted differently in our bodies, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just think the average, I didn't know, I probably didn't know much about it before. I didn't have a history of
yeah,
cancer in my family. But it depends on a person's
yeah,
personality. I wouldn't assume anything. I would probably
yeah,
ask.
yeah,
But there are just a lot of people who assume, oh, you should be fine by now, and those kinds of things. Did anybody
yeah, yeah.
kind of say that to you after, like thinking like,
Uh,
why are you taking so long
you
to get
look good.
better?
You look good. You look good. You look better.
Right.
I mean, I remember someone said that you can move on, you know,
Mm,
what's done is done. But it's not easy to move on, you
right.
know.
Yeah.
There's so many things to grieve about, and I've gone through so much. So it's a slow step I'm taking every day. But yeah, so people don't know what to say when, when someone is diagnosed with cancer, especially their friends or cousins or relatives, because they don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
So that's one thing which people don't know how to talk to a patient or their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is a topic we talk about a lot because it bothers me. I try to post some ideas, but then I think to myself, am I guilty of this maybe sometimes too? Possibly, because you know, everybody's different, like you said, and you could say something and think it's like very thoughtful or the right thing, and it might not be.
I mean, the simple thing you can do for someone is just provide your support or help, right? There are so many things you can do. You can cook meal for them, you can take them to hospital. You know, there are so many things you can help them, right? That's if you don't want to know, if you don't know what to say, at least just provide help, right?
Yeah, and in the chat, they're saying like similar things. I think it's those practical things, like you're saying, that are the best. You know, just to like provide food, something like that.
Yeah, take them for treatment, take them for ride, right?
Yeah. Well, I think people, their brains maybe just overcomplicate it, you know, and they think, oh, I want to make it better instantly.
Yes.
It's like, no, I just need you to sit here with me.
You know, I know someone mentioned meal for kids, and that's also really important because, like you said, Carol, you were diagnosed and you had kids, right? So it was so challenging, I'm sure, for you. Like, you know, the baby was small and you were getting your treatment done. So because I was not a mom that time. So, and I feel now if I would had a kid that time, I don't know how would I have processed that thing. Like, you know, who would have
luckily I had
taken
my
care of the
family.
kid?
I mean, my mom to this day, now my daughter's 9, she's like another mom for my daughter. You know, we all, like you said, worked together and figured it out. So because also like my husband too it's a lot on the family. So as
on the caregivers,
it can't be on one
person, on
caregivers, you know. So
and caregivers goes through a lot of things. They don't express, they don't share, and there are not a lot of support groups for caregivers. And I'm sure our husbands have done amazing job, but then they don't express themselves, right? And it's crazy because they're just there for you, but we don't know what they are going through.
Right.
And cancer doesn't affect you, it affects the whole family.
I'd love to get some family members on. That's going to be a theme. If we could convince them, have a caretaker talk, I think that would be very helpful too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think that would be great. That would be a great one because they're definitely not appreciated enough. I mean, maybe by us cancer people who they're taken care of, but you know, other people. It's not so. It's not so job. It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in as a family, right? And sometimes people don't have that support. Like we were grateful that we had that family support, and I've honestly seen people going for treatment by themselves and getting the chemo done and then driving back home. So imagine that, you know, how are they doing that, right? Like I had the support all the time when I was going through chemo, and not everyone has that. So just being there for them, it's the most beautiful thing you can do.
Sometimes I think even just someone just being in the room with me, you know, family member, you know, just somebody just being there. They don't have to say anything. Sometimes that's enough, you know.
That gives you hope, that gives you strength, right? That you're not
well,
alone
you
in
get
this
to see
journey.
that person, you know, and you get to go, okay, I'm not alone.
I'm not alone.
What a journey. What a journey. Like how
we all had a crazy journey, a crazy roller coaster ride.
Above all odds. I mean,
above all odds.
I know. I've actually looked at my statistics, and I was like, wow. Like I'm still beating the odds, and I was like, oh, this is wow. I didn't know that. It's like every, you know, so many years more treatment comes on, and you know they learn more things, and technology goes on, and so it's interesting for me as you know someone without.
There's so much of risk,
where
so
am I
much of
standing?
so much of research and funding. So much of research and funding has been going right for clinical trials and so many things, right? And so
immunity immunotherapy was just beginning because I was treated in 2015. That was never discussed as an option. I mean, I don't know if mine was too aggressive or what the story is, but I don't know enough about it. But I'm hearing more people getting immunotherapy as opposed to chemotherapy. And I know it's not, I think it's not as hard on the body from what I hear.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if you got the
Yeah.
immunosuppressant pills. I got those suppressant pills. I don't know what was the name. It was cyclosporin. I got that after my stem cell.
Oh, okay.
It was 3 months. I don't know, but that was something related to immunotherapy treatment or something.
I had
Yeah, and there's
I don't know if
different kinds of immunotherapy too.
Yeah. Did you have to, Harjeet, for blood cancer, did you have to do like either Neupogen or Neulasta after treatment to try to build your white blood cells up?
So I was on Grastufel injections for
but you had
6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had to do that too, and that was
to put it on my bone marrow to get because it was just after the stem cell, and it was shocking because those injections costed me $2,000
wow.
each.
Okay.
And because I had insurance and I had to buy secondary insurance because we were advised that after stem cell, I'll be needing dental and other things. So we need to buy second insurance. So we bought second insurance and that was covered. The injection was covered by both insurance and still I had to pay $300 out of my pocket. And I used to get those injections like 3 times a week for 6 months. So that's the out-of-pocket cost we had to pay for those injections.
Wow.
Yeah,
like I was neutropenic. I was 0.0. I was neutropenic.
Yeah.
Like there was like complete zero.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it's basically no immune system. So you're so susceptible to other illnesses, which could kill you. Really, that's the thing. You have the cancer, but if you have no immune system because you're trying to get, the chemo's killing all the cells, you could get some illness and die from a cold even. So that's like such a scary time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, after my first cancer, I actually went through a bout of anemia I almost died from.
Oh, wow.
And when I finally got to the hospital, my white cell count was 4, literally, the number 4. And they told me, you got to quarantine yourself. I was like, my kids in school, how do I quarantine myself?
Right.
It was a challenge. We'll have to talk on that another time.
I mean, being immunocompromised is one of the different topics when you go through treatment, right? So
yeah, absolutely, it's terrible.
And then having COVID.
Yeah.
And then having COVID. Oh man, I can't believe like how much I had to protect myself from COVID. But at last, COVID hit me. I had COVID in 2021.
Wow.
So I saved myself for like whole that year.
Yeah.
But 2021, I got COVID and I was on some pills because I had some pills. I don't remember the name. It was 7 days course because I had stem cell transplant and I was immunocompromised.
Yeah.
So I had to like quarantine in my room with no one was allowed to come inside and I had to take those pills.
Was it like Paxlovid or something?
I don't remember. Chemo brain, I really don't remember, but they were like big capsules and I had to take like 3 times a day. So for 7 days. Yeah.
So crazy.
How do you feel today?
I feel amazing, like, talking to you, and it felt like we just had a normal conversation about our diagnosis and treatment. And I hope people who listen to us, they actually gain something out of it and they could help and support other friends and people around them. So, and we need more of these chats, right? We need more of these live experience or, organic chats about these conversations because I think people love to hear all these conversations like this. So yeah, I'm happy we did this.
Me too. And I always post them after. I'll pull out like some clips of some of the more interesting parts and people can hopefully see those too as well. They can play them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's times I go back and I watch the whole thing all over again.
Yeah.
I haven't read the comments and I might read it when you post it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a nice
thing
to do. Yeah, if anybody
Absolutely,
else would like to
guys.
join
Yeah.
sometime, just get in touch with us because I saw
Yeah,
some nice comments there and we could set something up.
yeah. Shoot us a DM.
Exactly. Any
Oh,
last minute thoughts? Anything else, Harjeet?
I think the three of us just really have gone through such amazing and crazy wild journey. And we really did. We're beating odds, and
Yeah.
all I can say is God bless you, Carolyn. God
Aw,
bless you, Harjeet, and
thank you.
I pray God bless
Yeah.
you too, because
And we did it.
we
We did it. We are
did.
here, right? We
Yeah,
are here and talking and, helping people, helping and supporting people out there. And that's the best thing we can do, right? So,
Yep.
yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Just
I
not.
guess we'll wrap it up.
All
Thank you
right.
everyone for coming. Thank you to Harjeet
Yeah.
for
Thank you
sharing everything.
so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everyone who's been listening to us and, listening to our and topics and discussions. So, thank you. We are really grateful for everyone to be here today.
All right. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.